Okay, we should be recording now. So today's webinar, we're going to tackle a lot of different topics today, as far as some stuff on the kind of like more on like the membership side. We're going to review some items there, and then we will still have some application items as well towards the end. But it's going to be a good mix today of things because there's some important items that we want to kind of tackle on the PT side, and we just want to make sure you guys are on the same page with everything. And if you guys got any questions, we can kind of go over them now as well. So let me go into this full screen here. All right, so today we're going to talk about some cancellation kind of steps we're going to take just so everyone's on the same page when it comes to the PT membership. We're going to do some active recovery and mobility as well. Those are the main topics, but we will review some other items in addition to this. So we're going to talk about training membership, what's included. So everyone's aware of the value that your clients are getting within it and making sure we're utilizing as much as we can. We're going to review team training involvement, a little touch on what we talked about last time and kind of the goals of the department moving forward for that. We're also going to talk about something we've never really talked to you guys about before, and it's kind of what we want you to do when it comes to cancellation process. A lot of times when we're getting into that scenario where a member wants to cancel, we've really never coached on what you guys should do as trainers. So we're going to tackle that today. And then also going into a little bit of active recovery and mobility. I did want to include at least a little bit of that in today's segment, even though this month we are tackling a lot of the processes today that we want to review with you guys and also introduce you to. So wanted to get at least a little something in there for you on that. Just a reminder for everyone, we're still looking for those member success stories. I've had quite a few submitted already. Just a friendly reminder to keep submitting those. So remember that email it to me and then give me a picture of that person. It could be a before and after or just like a normal shot of the person, but something that where you impacted their lives. It could be new movement that they weren't able to do before. Maybe it was a weight loss story. Whatever that is, just go ahead and keep sending those because we got some great ones already, and we're going to start building those posters soon. So don't forget about that. Did you guys have any questions on that? I know some have already come in, but was there any questions or concerns as far as what we're looking for on those? You guys are all good there? Okay, cool. Poker chip program. So we're actually going to extend this out to the trainers now. This is somewhat a program we've done with the management side for quite a while now, and we want to start introducing it to you as well. What this is, it's basically giving you rewards for kind of going above and beyond what is normal practice for your daily duties. So how this program works is that you are given a poker chip, and after you get so many poker chips, you guys get rewarded for it. So if you get 5 chips, you get a apparel of your choice. Obviously, it's going to be Anytime Fitness, but there's options that you get to select from. There's going to be 10 chips. If you give that to us by the end of the year, you get a $25 Visa gift card. And if it's 15 chips, you're going to get a $50 Visa gift card. So it's just an extra reward program that we're introducing to you that we already do, and want to just pass it off to you guys because there's scenarios where you guys go above and beyond, and we want to recognize you for that. So in order for this to happen, though, we got to know about it. Okay, so if you see someone on the team, doesn't matter if it's MXM, trainer, we want to make sure you guys get nominated. That person is nominated for that poker chip. So in order to do that, what you guys just do is just email your area manager and me in the email and give us the nomination and why. So some examples of this would be in Pure, we had a trainer that shoveled the walkway with a random snowstorm that came. It's just something that's above and beyond what they typically would do in their day. Or a trainer helped an MXM and club manager move equipment when there was carpet cleaning going on. Obviously, they weren't training. They were just there waiting for their next client, and they went above and beyond and helped the management team there. So these are examples of things we're kind of looking for and what qualifies for the poker chip program. So if you see something like that, we want to know about it, and we want to reward you guys and recognize you for it. So every month, I'll release who gets poker chips and then get you guys those into the program so you start tallying your totals as well. So any questions on the poker chip program? That's a good overview of it. I'm sure you guys have heard of it possibly at the clubs, but that's another thing we want to introduce to you guys as trainers. So any questions, concerns? Okay, cool. So last webinar, we talked about application, getting more involved with our members and with that variety. So I kind of want to get some feedback from you guys on how it went. I went to some clubs, and a lot of MXMs gave me great feedback. I want to talk to you guys as trainers too. How did it go when you guys tried doing it? What's the feedback that you got from your clients, or any info that you'd like to present to the team here? Otherwise, I'll call on someone. So TJ, what did you see at your club there?
The main thing that I took away from last meeting.
Come a little closer, TJ. Sorry, it's hard to hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me all right now?
Yep. Yeah, that's okay. Perfect.
The main thing that I brought away was what Alex presented on with manual resistance. So just kind of like implementing that into a session, because you can take most of the program that you've already like had planned over the last couple months and make the workout completely different with just adjusting a couple things to be manually resistant. So usually that's a good thing, you know, for clients, because they always want variety. You know, they want the same stale things over and over again. So it's nice to be able to have an option like that, be able to change the session that much. So.
Sure. Jen, were you able to introduce that to your team training? Did that work? Did you get some variety involved in the team training as well when you ran those? Jen McLinn is who I'm talking to, sorry.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of it in my team training. I've done it more with the one-on-one training.
Oh, okay. Okay. And what kind of feedback did you get from it? Did you enjoy it yourself as a trainer?
Yeah, it's fun. I had people pushing me around on the table with sliders.
Okay, cool. Did any other members get involved when you did that? Kind of like feedback, involvement from other members?
Everyone was watching, that was for sure.
Yeah, so that's exactly it. That's that fishbowl effect. So people are going to be aware of that when you guys do that. So those are great things to get people involved that might not be in the program. So
notice that.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I notice because a lot of the time equipment's being used that I want to use. It's a time saver. So no matter what, I can basically do, you know, any movement I need to do because I have, you know, a lot of options.
Yeah, awesome. That's a great point too. When it gets to those busy times, you might have had a row in mind, but you might have to switch to a band or something. So good. So even you as trainers, I met with a longtime trainer of ours, and he said he started introducing it to his stuff, and it just gave him some new life to the application side. He felt like he was just getting a rut, kind of doing the same stuff. So it got him thinking outside the box. So even if you're long-term trainers, it just gets you into like almost new life of training. A little bit more excited again. I can understand how you get ruts at times when you're being a full-time trainer. So let's talk about the training membership, because there's a ton of value behind it. And we want to go over each area of that to make sure you guys are aware of everything that they're getting, because we do want to utilize that within their programs. Because this is going to directly relate to the cancellation steps that we're going to talk about later. So the first great thing about our membership instead of packages, so remember we do memberships with our members here, not packages. So back in the past, we used to do packages where they got X amount of sessions. Now they're getting X sessions per month, but if they don't use them, they lose them. So there's a lot of benefits to that on both sides, but there's a lot of flexibility with scheduling and budget when it comes to the membership options. Okay, there's a lot of things that MXMs can work out to make sure it happens. But there's also a lot of value behind this membership that they're presenting the members. First and foremost, to talk about the one-on-one training, the value behind that, and also the virtual coaching that's provided as well. Okay, so not only are they meeting with you, but they're getting coaching as well when it comes to goals and things of that nature. Also, they get team training, which is obviously that huge value we talked about before. That's included within the package, so we're going to want to make sure they're utilizing that. Also, nutrition coaching. Now, I know we talked about before, there's things you can and can't do on the nutrition side, but that is part of it. You guys are going to coach them on the basics of what they got to start doing, because as you guys know, it's pretty hard to outwork a bad diet. So with the help of making some big changes over in the long run, some simple things on the nutrition side, that's going to help them hit their goals more successfully. So they're getting that education they wouldn't have had before. Also, they get the heart rate system and coaching on the use of it. Okay, so they can also use it outside of their training sessions, and we want them to do that. So that's another huge benefit that they're getting. The use of the in-body system and coaching on it. You're actually getting a professional coaching you on this system where, you know, kind of before they're just kind of using their weight and they don't understand that weight really is a secondary source of data when it comes to their goals. Progress analysis and goal setting. So without you guys, they wouldn't really have those goals in mind as far as what their progressions would be with their mobility, strength, all those areas that they're trying to improve on. So without you guys, that wouldn't be happening. So there's a lot more that's involved, but that's a good basis of what the membership's included. So there's a ton of value there. So you want to make sure that the members are utilizing it, because if they don't utilize the systems that we have, they're not going to see the value in the membership like they should. So as far as the team training involvement, that's part of that program. Last month, we talked about getting more people involved. And I met with all the Wisconsin MXMs this past month on our big push and trying to get those people that are kind of like lost in the system, not utilizing it, trying to get them more involved. So that being said, we did have you guys want to reach out and talk to your clients and get them into the team training and at least try it, right? So there are scenarios where it's not going to work. But what was kind of the feedback? Did you get anybody involved? Kyle, in your clubs, was there any bigger change that you saw in your club after last month's talk? Or the feedback you got from your trainers? Trying to unmute right now. There you go.
I got it. Yeah, I mean, we still need to do a better job of it for sure, but we saw quite a few more start to at least try them out and get going.
Okay, and then was there any feedback from those members that tried it? Did you get anybody to stick to it, or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have quite a few. I think it was more just getting them in it and making it such a push right from the beginning. You know what I mean? Like new members signing up and just setting it as like an expectation, like you will be here, which is what we should have been doing from the start.
Yeah, perfect.
But,
okay. Mark, how about you, man? I know we talked a little bit. There's a couple you saw that some of the trainers could definitely get in. You knew it probably work in their schedule. How did those conversations go?
Went well. We had like two people that they were just mainly more shy than anything, and they just had to get in, give it a shot, check it out. And they actually met a few like friends, and some were they actually like it.
Okay.
So I did see some change. We definitely need to do a better job.
Yeah.
People in the team training, but there was a few successes out of it though.
Okay, awesome. So, and it's going to be a process, guys, because what's happening is we're kind of changing the mindset of our members in this program. So remember, we're going to be prescribing this from now on. So when you have new clients coming in, this is just part of the system. So on that session number 1, your hour session, you should be scheduling their first team training session out. So it's just part of the system. So remember, we don't want to just recommend, we're going to prescribe it. So there are some scenarios where it won't take place, and I'm going to go over that. But for the vast majority, if they're training once or twice a week, we got to get them in there and at least try it out. Okay, so in your first session moving forward, you guys should be just scheduling that out and just part of the system. If we get that mindset from the beginning, we won't be dealing with what we're trying to deal with now and trying to get people involved when they're not already. So here's who wouldn't be involved. So these are scenarios we understand it's not going to happen. One is they're already training 3 times a week. Okay, if they're training 1-on-1 already 3 times a week, that's very efficient. You're working with a professional almost every one of your workouts. There's other scenarios that I encountered talking with MXMs that makes a lot of sense. So if they're in sports, okay, so outside of their one-on-one sessions, they're in sports. So doing team training in addition isn't going to make a lot of sense, okay? Sometimes there are real time and schedule conflicts. Sometimes these people are just working out midday and that's it, and there might not be that option available. So there are those scenarios, but if they are normally training at 5 or 6 p.m. at night, we should be trying to get them in on team training. Or has at least tried it and they're just not interested. Okay, there are some where they tried it out and it just wasn't their thing, and we get that. Sometimes like the team setting isn't really the jive of everyone, so we understand that, but we want to at least try and have them at least try it once. Okay, sometimes they might be surprised at what they get out of it. The other one would be frozen. So obviously if they're frozen, they can't be using their membership, or if they're injured, those are scenarios where they wouldn't be involved in the team training setting. So the reason why we're pushing this once again, even if they do it 2 or 3 times a month, there's still a ton of value they're getting out of it. In addition to that, it comes down to cancellation. So let's say someone's been training with you for a year or 2, and they've seen some really good results, and they just kind of want to get down to just doing their own thing. Well, if that's the case, and they push for that, just going down to 1 time a week or less, we still want them involved in team training because it still has a ton of benefits. They're still in contact with us at the club. And if they haven't had any involvement in team training, it's going to be impossible for your MXM to get them into that program because they've had it already with their current program. They didn't even utilize it. So if they're not using it, they're not going to want to keep it. So we got to make sure we're getting them involved or at least tried it. So that's an option for the MXM to keep them involved on a higher level within our clubs. So any questions on that? No, any feedback?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I noticed that the team training classes are really cliquey and they stick around a lot longer if they all get along and hold each other accountable.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a retention, and that's why we're doing it. It's just higher retention with the clubs and just a different environment for them to get to and make some more friends. And like what Alex just said, if they're making friends at the club, their retention is going to be much higher at the club for sure. So that's a big push there. And then also for you guys, remember as trainers, better, faster results, and then also less programming and stress on you guys. If they're doing once a week with you and they're not in team training, that's more programming you got to give them to do on their own. So I think less stress for you as well. So let's go over some cancellation procedures that we're going to want to go to because we really haven't talked to you guys about this. That's an important topic because obviously retention, what we're tackling there is less people leaving compared to what's going into the team training, or excuse me, the membership for the personal training. So the most time when people cancel, it's going to come down to the value, right? Whenever we cancel anything, it's because we don't see the value in it typically. So when we're doing this, the member is not getting the expected services or results that they're expecting out of the membership. So if the value is not there, they're going to talk to you about cancellation. If they see the value in the membership, odds are they're going to stay in the program much longer. Think about your personal life right now, about things that you've canceled. Almost every time you've canceled something, it's because you didn't see the value in it. You didn't want it anymore. So that's the same thing that's happening with the PT. They were able to afford it before, but somehow they can't now, or something happened in the life where they can't. Now there's scenarios where that does happen, but for the vast majority of people, it comes down to something else as why they want to cancel. And it's usually the value. Also think about the expensive things you guys buy. When you guys buy expensive things, someone else might be like, well, why did you buy that? But to you, it has value, right? So they're buying an expensive thing. So if they see the value in it, they're going to keep it, right? Just like compared to getting a Honda or a high-level vehicle, you know, like what's the difference there? Why is someone paying so much more for that vehicle? It's because they see so much more value, or there's more that service provides. So same thing here. So trainers, you guys will have the biggest impact of this because you guys have the strongest relationships with your clients. MXMs do have relationships with your clients, but it's not nearly as powerful as yours. So you guys do play a big role in this, and that's why we do want to talk to you about it, because you have the best relationship with them. And you guys are going to be the forefront of the conversations about cancellation. So as a trainer, you're going to want to control the direction of that conversation. Okay, the last thing we want to do is just say, oh, okay, and then just pass them off to MXM. That shows that you really didn't care, right? It was just another person in your schedule, and then we'll take care of the cancellation. So we want to actually help everyone out and figure out why do they want to cancel, okay? So we got to find the why. Just like when they are setting goals with your MXMs, the MXMs are finding the why. Why do they want to achieve this goal? And sometimes it's harder to get to that and takes longer. Sometimes in those meetings, it takes a long time to get the real why, and that's what the MXMs are working on. So as a trainer, if someone wants to cancel, we got to work on the why. Why do they want to cancel on us? Oops. So when they want to cancel, sometimes it's relocation or a severe injury. Okay, that stuff makes sense, right? If they're moving, they're not going to be able to work with you anymore. So that's a scenario where it's kind of out of your control. Same thing with severe injury. That's something like most of us are not physical therapists, right? So we're not going to be able to do their physical therapy for them. So they're going to have to freeze until they can come back and do full-on activity with you guys like they normally would. So those are scenarios you guys don't have much control. But a lot of the other scenarios you guys do, okay? Part of it's going to be results. If they're not seeing results, there's steps we're going to want to take to figure out why, okay? Maybe it's them, maybe it's us. We got to figure out why it's happening. Financial. It might be the case that they do need to cancel due to financial, but it also might be that they just don't want to tell you as their trainer that they don't want to work with you anymore. They don't see the value anymore. So they're going to go to the MXM, which is easier, just to cancel, okay? Also, time and schedule changes. Sometimes that might be the case. Maybe their job schedule did change, but a lot of times it might just come down to that they don't really want to hurt your feelings and they're ready to cancel because they don't see the value anymore. And these are real conversations we've had. So we want to be able to tackle them and kind of get the ego out of the way. Let's figure out why it's not the values there. Sometimes it's them, sometimes it's us. So we got to tackle that. So we do have a great system for you guys as trainers within our facilities, okay? This system, we're giving you guys clientele to work with, where a lot of times in big box clubs, as trainers, you got to go around and get your clientele. So we got a great system we're providing you with clients, but we don't want to abuse that system, right? We still see value in trainers that have high retention value within the clubs. So what we don't want you doing is just say, and not trying, and just say, well, I'll just get another client anyway, right? That's the worst attitude we could have. That means you really don't care about the results, and you're probably in the wrong position if that's your attitude. There's a higher value trainer will have that client retention, okay? So like I always say, think of yourself as a business. If you're losing more people and you're trying to run your own studio, you're not gonna have a studio anymore, right? So we gotta try to keep our ducks in a row and keep our clients accountable for their results. Sometimes a trainer might say, it's not my job, it's MXM's job. Well, to us, we're kind of saying, well, you're the first line of contact, so there's a reason why. So part of your job as a trainer is to figure out why they're struggling with their goals. Why do they want to stop when they were so motivated before? We got to find that why. So here's some discussion and trying to figure out that piece of the puzzle of why they're canceling. Give you guys some ammo when we get into these conversations. So instead of just passing off to the MXM, we're going to want to take some steps before we do that, okay? Because more times than not, it's going to come down to the experience, okay? So I'm not saying those other things we talked about are not factors, but a lot of times those come down to experience. So let's talk to it before they go into cancellation. And here's one thing you want to do. You want to figure out, are they using everything we provide in that membership? Are they utilizing team training? Are they utilizing the heart rate system? There's so much value within this that we got to figure out, you know, are they using everything? And if they're not, that's probably one of the reasons why they're not seeing the value anymore for what they're paying. So we want to make sure we're getting them into those programs. Are they actually seeing results or not? That's obviously going to be another factor, right? Now, it could be on them, could be on us, just kind of depends. But 9 times out of 10, they're not seeing results because they're probably not utilizing those other services we provide with them in that membership. Is there good coaching happening? Now, we got to be honest with ourselves on this. I know we all get busy, but did we honestly coach them at all? Or did we just meet them for sessions and just do some fit testing? We're going to want to review these main items first. Okay, I'm going to give you some steps here of where we look at this, but one of them is going to be if it's result driven, look at the intensity of their outside workouts and frequency. Are they getting in when they should be? Are they training 3 to 4 times a week? Are they utilizing that heart rate system like they should be outside of you? And if they are, go into the heart rate system and see what their intensity is. A lot of times when you go to this step, you can stop a cancellation because you can show them that the results are not coming because the only good workouts they're getting are with you. So it's either they got to step up the amount of times they see you or get better workouts outside of you. So kind of focus on those, and you can get that exact data from that heart rate on those sessions. Are they involved in team training? That's another huge factor to the benefits of the program is they get that team training. So are they utilizing that within their sessions? And then also you're going to want to review the results and goals so far. Are they actually hitting goals? Are they still struggling to achieve those nutritional goals that they got to get some coaching on? So those are the kind of things we kind of want to look at when it comes to results. And just instead of saying, okay, no problem, let's go to the MXM, let's figure out what's going on and then try to tackle those problems. Don't give up so easy. So here's some options for you guys if it actually is financial schedule, okay? Because that is one that's hard to tackle because sometimes that is the case, okay? So if they're getting good results with you and it's literally comes down to schedule and results, the first thing you want to do is possibly look at lowering the frequency of how often they're training. So instead of going from 2 times a week to 0, talk to them about going down to 1 time a week and then utilizing team training more. That's an option that's going to keep them with you and higher results than just going off and saying they're done. And then if, like a year later, they go back to their old them and they got to re-sign up again and they lost a lot of progress, okay? So keep your clients with you. See if you can taper down those sessions instead of just quitting it all in all. With results, take a look at it. Sometimes we get so involved with so many clients that we got to focus on. sometimes we forget to do things. I've seen it just in fit testing. We forget to test certain things. So take ownership sometimes and see if they would give you another month to really tackle this goal, okay? So sometimes it's combination effort, okay? Say, client, if you do this consistently, I will be there for you and we will hit this goal. You promise me you'll do this, okay? So take some ownership within it and work as a team. If it's them, for sure, show them where they're falling off and talk about it. Don't be afraid to kind of show them and point out, like, here's the issue. Here's why you're not seeing results. It's because you're not coming in, or you keep doing this poor nutrition habit. Even though you're coming in all the time, you can't outwork this. This is, the poor issue here. So really learn to tackle, and don't be afraid to talk to your clients about those tough conversations when they bring up that cancellation. If it's lack of results and it's honesty all on them, what you can do before you see this cancellation stuff happening, if they're falling off and they're just kind of like not showing up anymore, this has worked a lot. Kyle even has used this, and so have I, and it works very well. And it's the fact of taking yourself away, because you have a ton of value as a trainer. So if you're doing everything you can and they're not getting in there, take yourself away, and they will actually change their attitude quickly. How we do that is, here's just an example, is you can say, okay, well, maybe it's me that you're not seeing the results. Okay, I'm trying to get you in here, but it's not working. So maybe another trainer is a better fit for you. Let's go set you up with, Sam. I think he's going to be a great fit for you. Let's go talk to your MXM Mark, and let's get this set up, because right now I don't think I'm the best option for you. When we've done that before in the past, they instantly backtrack and they apologize for their mistakes. I'm like, no, you're a great trainer. I want to keep you. Let's try this again. Let's go this month. I promise you I'll work harder. So sometimes it works if you guys take yourself out of the equation, because you have a ton of value as a trainer. And if the client sees that and they really see that they're the ones that are screwing up, and you take yourself away and say, hey, I don't want you to quit, but I think you better try somebody else, has worked a lot in the past if you guys utilize that. So have you guys utilized that before? Or any of you tried that or had that experience before?
I'm about to.
Yeah, right? So it does work. So give it a shot. Let me know how it goes. But these are the things we got to start tackling so we keep higher retention of our clientele and go through these tough conversations. Let's just not on that all the time. So if you go through all these steps, guys, then it's probably time to take them to the MXM. Okay, so if you do have that conversation and they have a financial obligation and like, you know what, I can't do 2 times a week, but you know what, I could do 1 time a week. So instead of canceling, let's get you down to 1 time a week. I'm going to take you over to Mark. He'll get you set for 1 time a week. That other time, try to get in team training. We'll schedule that out, and then we'll go from there. So instead of canceling all out, there's some steps we can take. Take these steps and then hand them off to MXM and let them MXM know what's going on. Instead of just stopping in the office saying, hey, Nancy wants to cancel, can you fit him in? Fill the MXM in. Give them some ammo, because he's our last-ditch effort at keeping this person and getting them to their results, okay? So give them some ammo to work with as well. You guys are a team. You guys got to work as a team to help these members, because them on their own, they're going to take the easy way out, okay? So any questions or concerns on cancellations or any ideas that maybe I didn't present to you guys that you might have that have worked in the past? MXMs, do you guys have anything that worked for you in the past? Alex, TJ, you guys are highly experienced. You guys got any feedback?
I actually really like the way you said that we suffer from that.
Oh, come a little bit closer, Alex. Sorry, your mic's a little far away.
No, I like what you said about the take yourself away. Maybe I've done that before, and I've actually had a lot of success with that.
Okay, cool.
And then it's always like on a nutrition standpoint. And then they're like, no, I'll work harder, and they actually want to prove themselves. Yeah, I've had a lot of success with that.
Okay, cool. So that's good. Alex has used that in the past. Go ahead, TJ.
I think the main thing too that you hit on already is just like not to make it so it's a surprise attack for the MXM. You gotta let them know what's coming instead of it just being like going into the calendar and freaking aside like 15 minutes for the MXM to deal with that problem and then leaving them on their own. You gotta like give them some ammunition so you guys can work together to get the person back on board.
Awesome. Cool. And all we're asking of you guys is just to care, right? We want you guys to care on why they're canceling. Just not dump them off like they're a number in your system, right? So figure out why, help your MXM out. You guys work as a team. And as a whole, your club will grow and get better experience. All right, cool. So also want to talk about session density. So what we mean by that is your use of one-on-one time. We want to maximize this. And there's some things we want to discuss when we're talking about maximizing use of time, and I got some ideas for you guys to use. I don't know if you guys know this, but you know they're paying a lot, but they're literally paying you guys $1.37 a minute, roughly, to work with you, okay? So ask yourself, on some of the stuff you're doing, would you really pay yourself that much per minute for some of the stuff that's going on in some of the sessions, okay? I know most of us do a really good job, so I'm not like directing this at anyone, but there's some times where I think we just lose sight of what the value is behind the session, and we're not utilizing as much as we can. So most of the clients should be moving most of the time, like within their sessions to hit their goals. Most of our clients are general population that want to look better, move better, and feel better. And to do that, we got to be moving. So if we're doing a lot of standing around and talking, that's probably not hitting that goal. I know there's coaching involved, but we can coach while we move, right? So we have 30 minutes to burn as much fuel as possible for these people, because most of them are over fat, right? We got to get that body fat down. So to do that, we got to move. And moving takes calories. The jaw does not take as many calories as the legs do. So we got to kind of reverse that a little bit, get the jaw moving while the legs are moving. So here's some things that the session should not look like. And I mean this for the vast majority of our clients, not just the special population. I know there's some scenarios where it's a little bit more coaching, mobility work. The vast majority, it's about moving. So it shouldn't look like a coffee break, right? So if the vast majority of your session is sitting there talking about things, and that's a consistent thing, we're not really doing them a good service, right? We're kind of using that as a mental break for ourselves, and we're not moving. They should be definitely moving during those sessions. So if you guys are talking, let's talk during movement. There's some things I know where we got to sit and explain, which is fine. But if we see that most of our time during the session is talking, that's not what they're really paying you for the most part, right? If the entire session looks like a massage or physical therapy session, okay, and that's like for multiple clients at a time. Remember, most of these people started up with training is because they got to move, right? They got to lose that body fat. So if the entire time we're just sitting there massaging them, well, first of all, I doubt we have a certificate of massage therapy, right? And they signed up because they wanted to move, right? So I know mobility and all that kind of stuff is important, and we want to do that, but let's utilize that within the session, okay? So utilize it within their training, and I'm going to give you some ideas on that. Now, there's times where we do want to talk really heavily on nutrition if they're struggling, right? But the vast majority of your session needs to be designated to that moving. Personal trainer, not a nutritionist, right? We want to help them make those big decisions and help them go in a better direction with nutrition. But a lot of times, if we're constantly using sessions just to talk nutrition, we got to try to do that within the session, okay? So I'm talking about using time wisely. I'm not saying these things are not important. They are. We just want to use them within the sessions with their major goal. An example is this is Alex G in Oregon. I saw him one day. He's got a client in a wheelchair, and he was maximizing use of time. What he was doing is he has to push him to different sections of his workout. What Alex was doing during the session is he had him doing shoulder mobility work as he was pushing him to his next movement. So that's excellent use of time that someone's very limited, okay? A lot of us have clients that have multiple directions they can go with their time. Being in a wheelchair limits you a lot. So Alex was maximizing his time with his client while he was getting him to his next session or his next area of the workout. So that kind of stuff goes a long way. So what is active recovery? So what we want to do is introduce active recovery for our sessions and make sure we're utilizing it within our sessions. So what this is, it's actually doing something physically while letting that heart rate come down, okay? So this helps us maximize our time and benefit within the session. Because remember, we got 30 minutes to do as much as we can with them. So I'm going to give you some examples of how we can directly program this into our circuits if you guys are really big into programming. The other thing is like effective use in team training. This works really well because some people are going to be gassed doing some certain things within team training where other people might be okay. So there's some things we can do while they're letting that heart rate get down. So best practice are going to be big bang for your buck exercises, and they cut down on wasted time during workout. So instead of just recovering and talking, we could be doing something and talking. So some of these drills I'm going to show you guys is they're not already in dynamic for most of the clubs. Now, we are launching a new dynamic warm-up at some clubs as we introduce new systems, but a lot of these aren't already in there, so we can utilize them. These are movements that are easily modifiable or easy to set up. These movements will let the heart rate come down, but they're also going to hit multiple important areas for your clientele that they need. Once again, it requires a little space as well. So this is something that we can literally do if they get overexertion, or if we're just working it within our circuits. It's easy to implement these movements. So with these examples, I'm going to go over some programming, what you guys can do. So example one, let's say you're doing like a full-on circuit. Okay, so let's say we're doing speed rope, and we go into that goblet squat, then into the dumbbell chest press. Let's say those were your 3 movements that you're doing in a row. Then instead of just having a break and talking, we could insert active recovery and talk. Okay, so we could introduce these drills right into it. So instead of having a timer and saying, all right, you got a minute break, let's just chat for a bit, it should be, all right, you got a minute break, let's get this done because I know this is tight. You know, things of that nature. Example 2 is within strength. I actually do this a lot. Okay, so I would do, like, let's say we do back squat and then overhead squat, or overhead press, excuse me. And then, so we're doing the superset. Instead of just recovering for like 2 minutes, let's do a movement, right? So with things that I do personally is I will be squatting, heavy back squat, and then I will do like shoulder rotational work in between while I'm recovering, okay? I had to make myself do it because I wasn't practicing my recovery like I should. Just like a lot of your clients, they're probably not doing their mobility work like they should in their recovery because it's kind of boring at times, right? So let's introduce it when we're resting, and that way we're getting it in. So this worked for me personally, going through some physical therapy on my shoulder and stuff. With this, I implement it while I'm recovering from my heavy movement. Example 2 is just like dropping the heart rate. So let's say they're getting too intense on a circuit. Let's say you're doing curve sprints at the end of a workout. These are things we could do while they're catching their breath, okay? Any questions on those breakdowns that I gave you, or any feedback? Okay, cool. So some other examples. So maybe it's not a movement for mobility, but there's other things we could do in place of just resting and sitting, okay? So these could be items that you already program and put in place instead of full rest. Remember, these are going to be things that let the heart rate come down a little bit more. So we're still doing something, but the heart rate's coming down. You guys can introduce your stabilization work for their active recovery. So it could be a couple movements, and then they do their Supermans or something, because these are things that the heart rate's coming down, but we're still working on important areas of the body, okay? We could practice range of motion movements, okay? So let's say we do a series, and then we do head through the window practice, teaching our client how to get that head through the window when that bar is going overhead. Those are movement patterns that we got to learn. Or it could be RDL, teaching them hip hinge, right? Maybe they're really struggling with that hip hinge. So this is something they could do. It's not very strenuous, more about learning the skill, right? Those are things we can put in for active recovery. And obviously the things that are super easy would be foam rolling and rope stretches, okay? So if your client's not getting this done on their own, you would want to introduce this into their the foam rolling and rope stretches into their programming so they are getting it done. So I'm going to go over some examples of movements you guys could introduce and utilize within your training. And we're going to discuss these as well. But I want to at least give you guys some fuel outside of just saying, all right, add in core and all that kind of stuff. So when we're doing the banded rack stretch, what we're doing here is this is back and shoulder stretching, and it's going to assist with front rack mobility. So what I mean by that, so if you have someone that has issues getting into that front rack position, that means like their elbows up in the sky. There's usually a lot of tightness going on that we can fix. This is a great drill you can introduce. So the keys to the banded stretch here is the wrist is going to go through the band and then grab. We're not just going to grab the band, okay? So watch for these things as I show you this video. And the band needs to be anchored at a lower than the shoulder. So when we're doing the stretch, a lot of times we might see people putting the band at the higher position. With the stretch, we actually want it at the lower position so it's pulling in the right direction. And we're stretching the right muscle groups. We got to make sure that core is tight. And then we're going to mimic that front rack position with the elbow. So think elbow to the sky, but we don't want to force it. We want to get a good stretch out of it. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys here. See, I'm going through and I grab like that. Then I'm going to rip it under. Step forward with the elbow in the sky. And this is the area that we're stretching here. So my elbow is not here. We want to get it up and get that stretch involved in that lat area. Okay, this is something easily you guys could introduce into your programming and active recovery to help with that, because that is a tight area for a lot of people. Okay. Another one, as you know, the hip flexor is always very tight with our members for the most part, right? They sit all day. So this is going to be one that you guys could utilize right away that's very effective. And remember, when you see these movements I'm doing for you guys here, I'm just putting it right on a rack in a band. So something we could literally easily implement right into the programming. So this one's going to open up the hip flexor, because remember, guys, if our hip flexors are too tight, it can be impossible for your client to activate the glute amnesia. Okay, so we got to make sure we get a stretch in the hip flexor before we activate glute. Otherwise, they won't be able to. Okay, so a common issue with most people that we see. So the keys to this is that the legs and hips, we got to use a bigger band when we do this kind of stuff, not the smaller ones. We need that thicker band when we work on the lower extremities with band work like this. So we're going to bring the band as high as possible up to that glute. Okay, so almost right underneath that butt is where they should feel it. And then we got to make sure they're squeezing their glute when they do this one too. We want to make sure they're trying to get glute activation here as we get that stretch. So think posterior activation and then anterior stretch. So we're going to push in the hip at different angles too. I don't know if you guys have heard of this before, but it's called 3D stretching. Our muscles work in 3 dimensions, okay? Or the science is getting so much better. Like before, when we thought of stretching, like people would think like it's a one plane, right? So kind of like the earth is flat. Well, guess what? It's round, right? So now we know that our muscles work in 3-dimensional ways. So when we're stretching, we got to do that as well, just not like in one plane of motion like we're used to being taught. So with this, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the video here. I'm going to step into the band, up to the glute, nice and high. Make sure you get a pad on the floor for your member there, because it does hurt the knee if it's on a floor like that. And then we're going to tighten the glute, squeeze there, chest is up. I'm going to lean into that hip. And now you can stretch in different angles too when you guys do it. So you can go this direction and then keeping things square and go in the other direction, okay? Multiple angles in that stretch to get that hip flexor region stretched out, okay? So that's something you guys can easily implement into the programming there. Wall slides, something easily we could do within the programming, right? Just need a wall to do it. With this one, we got to activate our lower traps, rhomboids, and external rotators on this one. It's going to be a great stretch for the pecs. Now with me, guys, I do have upper mobility issues, okay? I damaged some cartilage like 2 days before I did this movement. So now I have even more mobility issues I got to work on. So this is going to be an important one for me to do. The reason I did record myself doing this is because when I do it, it's going to be a lot of what you guys see actually with the population that you're working with. I'm super tight there for other reasons, but for this, you're going to see what they need to be working on and what they're visually going to see when you guys do this for them. So the key to this, you got to make sure that the hands and wrists are flat against the wall, okay? In addition, as you slide up, you got to keep the forearm against the wall. Don't let it go away, and we don't want to force it, okay? So we want to make sure we're working good range of motion. We're not going to hyper arch when we go up, okay? Like I said, this is going to be something you guys really see when you guys do this. For modification with this, you can move your feet farther out from that wall, okay? But with me, I'm not going to be able to get all the way up. So watch this because of that damage I did a couple days ago. So I go up, watch my hand stops there because of the damage I did. So your people are going to be tight for different reasons, but they're probably going to stop right there. But I am keeping my hands flat against the wall and my forearms, and that's how I got that stretch. So over time, it's going to get better as I go through therapy, but with that, that's what you guys will see with your clients. So TJ, anything you want to add to that movement? Because I know you utilize this a lot.
I use that one a lot, except for my modification of that is a lot of times if I get somebody who actually is starting to get used to that drill and get more range of motion, I'll put them on the ground on top of a foam roller.
Oh, excellent.
So that way, like, gravity will make them actually force pack their shoulders and their scapula basically fall on either side of the foam roller.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal one. Yeah, good point, TJ. And you're also getting a great pec stretch in there too, right? So awesome. This is one of my favorites. This is one I do all the time in between my heavy compound movements I have to do. So this is great for pec and anterior delt stretch, rotators, upper back mobility. Key to this is keep the arms straight. Rotate till you touch the butt. Now you might only get partway through. Okay, so work on the range of motion of your clients until they can get all the way back. And then you can also hold a sweet spot in here to stretch the pecs. So I can actually do this where I get a good pec stretch and I reach out to a certain point and hold it there. and then I go through the full range of motion as I get more mobility in my chest from being tight. So modify this to make it more intense. You would bring hands closer. Okay, so if they have greater mobility, you can bring it in closer. If they're too tight, you can widen it. So we're going to play it here. Roll all the way through to the butt, keeping the arms straight. So you guys can try this too if you don't already. It's a great one. Easy to do anywhere. A lot of dowel work is easy to do in any drill.
Hey, Chad?
Yeah, Alex. Yeah, what's up?
I've noticed it works a little bit better when you bring it to the top and then you cock your wrists back and then bring it back over. You get a stretch all the way through your forearms to your biceps, delts, and then even more into your chest.
So when you say that, what do you mean by cocking the wrist? Can you visualize that for us?
You bring it above your head and then you turn your wrists backwards. So you extend your wrists. So does that make sense?
Like a forearm stretch almost, you mean?
Like almost, yeah. Well, you just have it at the top, and instead of just holding it straight up, you turn your wrist back.
Okay, cool. And then what did you say that's doing for them? Because I haven't seen that modification.
It's deeper into the chest. So like if they don't feel in their chest, like they only feel it in their shoulders, this way it kind of forces them to stretch their chest.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm going to give that a shot. I'm going to try it right after this. Thanks, bud. Banded X walks. So you guys probably already know this one, but it's a great one to introduce and put into the movements. I wanted to show you one that maybe wasn't more about stretch, but more activation. So this is probably one of the biggest bang for your buck exercises you guys could do when it comes to this stuff, because it does work that posterior a lot. And as you guys know, it's really hard to focus on that posterior side because that's where most people are super weak. So we do want to get the activation back there. So in addition, great for gluteus medius activation. So as you guys know, with valgus tendency, that's probably one of the biggest components to fixing that is strengthening that abductor strength and gluteus medius precisely. So with that, this is a great one you can introduce if one of your clients does have valgus tendency when they're squatting, okay? So on this one, make sure you guys are thinking about pulling the shoulders back when you do it. So coaching point would be big step, little step. So we want to keep that tension on the whole time. So that's like a coaching point I always say, big step, little step. We don't want that full step going in. We don't want our feet to touch. Feet are straight ahead. We don't want them turning, so watch for that when the clients do it. Make sure the shoulders stay back, right? They'll crunch, or they'll bring their shoulders forward too much when they do this one, but keep the shoulders back. We want that back activation. So think pinching a pencil between the scapula there. That'll kind of make them think about getting those shoulders back a little bit and down. You don't want the shoulders up. We don't want to shrug. We want back and down, okay? So, Stoughton, as I was doing this, I couldn't find any light bands that you should probably do this with, especially starting out. So you guys will be getting some bands in the future here, okay? Because there were no light bands. So we got some ordered. I got the manager to order some. So you'll see those soon. That's just a side note as I was doing this. I was like, we got to get some light bands in this club. So, all right. So modification obviously would be lighter band. So here's going to be the movement. I'm going to cross that band over. Now, once again, this is a tougher band, so it's going to look a little different than what it should, but you get the idea. We want to be nice and solid, shoulders back. Leg swings. Sometimes we forget about the simple dynamic movements that we typically would do in a warm-up that we can introduce into the workout if we don't already. Leg swings are great. The reason I bring these up is because they're easy to coach and get to. But they open up the hips, and usually they're a mess in the hips, right? So great groin hip mobility exercise. Lesser side, you're hitting about the glutes, hamstrings, and erectors there. But the keys to this is that hands are against the wall, shoulder height, keep the foot pointing straight ahead, and we're going to swing the leg by keeping it loose. So a lot of times when people do this, they get too tight. You got to stay relaxed and let the hip open up. So don't tense the low back. Allow that rotation to go through when we do this movement. Okay, so we're going to modify for height of the swing. Okay, so if we're super tight, we're not going to force it. Just like anything, keep it loose. Range of motion will come over time as long as I keep practicing it. So keeping that toe up, rotating through nice and loose. So front swing, all you're doing is hand to the side now. Glute and ham, hip flexor. So we're hitting a little different area of the hips here. Stand tall, hands on wall, shoulder back, chest up. inside leg will swing, not the outside. Okay, we want to keep that stationary on the inside, or excuse me, the outside. Inside's the mobile area. Keep that leg straight, stay square, both toes forward when we do this one. Once again, we got to stay loose during the movement. Let those hips open up. Once again, modify for height of swing. Bring it up all the way through to the back. Oops, sorry, I clicked too quick there. But you guys have done that before. It's a great one to do. So before I let you guys go here, we got to get some quizzes in real quick, and then I'm going to take attendance before I let you guys go because we are getting tight on time here. So which part of the one-on-one membership should we be prescribing, not recommending, guys?
Team training.
Team training.
Yes, team training. Awesome. Why, as a trainer, do you want your clients doing team training? What are the benefits of that?
Better results. Faster results.
Yep, less programming for you guys, better workouts, better results, greater retention, and the list goes on. What's the number one reason why people cancel? And who's the greatest impact?
Don't see the value, it's the trainer.
Yeah, exactly. We don't see the value in it, and then the trainer is going to be our number one greatest impact on this cancellation process. And then what is active recovery?
Stretching during periods where you're not doing the workout to bring the heart down.
Yep. So we're doing something that's productive while letting that heart rate come down. Awesome. Cool. All right. Awesome job. Thanks for the good feedback. Before you guys go here, I'm going to stop the recording, and then we're also going to take one final attendance, so do not hop off yet. Let me stop the recording as well.